If you've just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. Rivers State Governor, Suazin Caretaker Committee Chairman, orders audit of LGA's accounts. House of Representatives to debate bill seeking termination of election petitions at appeal court. Police Service Commission Union demands sack of police chief over fraud allegations. And Mali's Prime Minister endorses documents criticizing country's military rulers. Thank you for staying with us. Reactions have continued to trail the recommendation by the House of Representatives Committee on National Security and Intelligence, asking the federal government to purchase new aircraft for President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima. The committee's recommendation is contained in a report released after its investigation into the status of the aircraft in the presidential air fleet. The Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, had upbraided the federal government for contemplating the purchase of new aircraft to add to the existing presidential fleet. Meanwhile, a former spokesman of the 2023 People's Democratic Party PDP presidential candidate, Daniel Bwala, tackled Mr. Obi over his remark. To discuss this, I'm joined now by aviation expert Godi Ike. Godi, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
I mean, what is the contention about, really? If the result is coming from a committee's technical assessment that the aircraft, the current aircraft, no longer serve the best for the president, shouldn't the matter just end there?
No. First of all, you need to understand the nature of airplanes. As faithful as they are, airplanes do not necessarily, get old. Airplanes are as old as their missed checks and as new as their checks done. It follows that, for instance, if you have a 30-year-old, airplane that is due for a C or D check, as the case may be, depending on the flight hours he is already put in, and that C or D check, got done effectively, sincerely, and successfully. And then you have a brand new, so-called brand new 6-month-old, airplane that is due for an A check. And that A check, for one reason or the other, is missed. That is to say, it wasn't done. That 30-year-old that successfully underwent a C or D check, as the case may be, is a safer airplane than the 6-month-old due for an A check and it's not done. So that's why I say to you that airplanes are as old as their missed checks, and of course as new as their checks done. So and there again, an average airplane can do 35,000 circles. And what's a circle? One takeoff, one landing is a circle. And that can take, if you can do up to 30 to 35,000 circles in a lifetime of an airplane, that means you can jolly well do as much as 35 years in that airplane.
If I understand you, well, if I understand where you're headed, it seems something is amiss here. If it's a technical committee that is making this submission, and you're saying maybe they have missed one or two things, but doesn't require a change of aircraft, is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's quite insensitive of the technical committee to begin to make such recommendation at a time like this in Nigeria. It's just a pursuit of unnecessary and expensive luxury. It doesn't guarantee, safety of Mr. President and Mr. Vice President. No, it doesn't guarantee it. You may buy that airplane, for instance, and use them for, a number of flight hours, and they are due for their air check. And if for any reason that air check is not done, they become very dangerous, airplanes. And so, just take it from me, because I've researched so deeply into, the aviation sector and airplanes, and I can tell you authoritatively and challenge anyone, anywhere in the world to say that this is not correct. And
so
again, my dear,
if this information, I'm sorry I keep interjecting, I'm trying to maximize time. If this information is available to members of the House of Representatives, are you concerned that a member of the House is of the view that not purchasing this aircraft might amount to a breach of national security, because he equates the fact, he believes, according to an interview that he granted, that the president's safety is also important, and he believes this technical committee. Are you concerned that the House of Representatives might not be doing due diligence?
They obviously are not consulting. If they consult experts, they will get the true information about the nature of airplanes.
What does
they
this
will not be making such. They will not be making such recommendations at this time. The jets we have in the fleet of the presidential fleet, can be maintained properly. Anyone that is due for a B check, it should be done. Anyone that is due for a C should be done, and anyone that is due for a D, check, should be done. And once those are sincerely, mark my words, sincerely done, those planes are as safe as can be. Airplanes really do not get old. What determines their, the services they give remains the maintenance culture. If it's due for any maintenance, it must be done, and once it's done, it's good to go. It's not putting anybody at risk.
So your clear message to the federal government is that this is not a priority, as is being said across board.
It's not just not a priority, but extremely insensitive at this time in the life of our nation. This is a nation that is still battling with labor, for instance, for payment of acceptable level of salaries, and a whole lot of other competing needs for the funds that we are struggling to rake in now as a nation. And then you begin to discuss issue of buying brand new airplanes, when in reality, those so-called brand new airplanes do not guarantee the safety of Mr. President. What guarantees the safety of Mr. President is the sincere maintenance of the airplanes that we have. Even if you buy the so-called new one and you use them for the number of hours that requires a check, say for instance an A check or a B check, as the case may be, and for some corrupt reasons or some careless reasons, those checks are not done, Mr. President's life is at risk with the so-called brand new. So it's not necessary at this time. My recommendation would be that the planes that we have should be, maintained and given appropriate checks that they require.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for
speaking
with us.
Thank you very much.